Our next speaker is going to talk about a related issue, which is how we navigate this transition, this just transition. Hopefully, it's transition justly to make sure that climate justice, that all parts of our economy and all of our businesses and communities are part of this transition, which we all hope is happening. I mean, I know there's been some developments, including our new sponsors of our balloon fiesta, that maybe don't make us as encouraged as we would like to be. I'm just speaking for myself, but there's a lot of good work going on. Josue de Luna Navarro has been working on this. He's a fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies, and I hope he'll post a link to the great study on public power that he just helped put out, and has doing this work in addition to being just a great advocate in the immigrant community. He's been really helping us think through how we transition to a much more democratic, inclusive economy. And I want to turn it over to Josue and thank him for being here. Josue, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Josue. I'm the Climate Justice Coordinator for the Center for Civic Policy, CCP, based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And just like Eric mentioned, I'm also an Associate Fellow for the Institute for Policy Studies, where I really have time to research, right, the different issues or intersectionalities around climate justice as it relates to energy democracy, as it relates to immigration, and really try to come up with policy solutions that resonate with our community. I'm going to share my screen really quick. So just bear with me. Oops. Okay, so when we talk about climate justice, right, or we talk about the climate crisis, the very first images that we get for most of us is the very intense drought, right, that our state is facing, right? Or the wildfires that not only has impacted New Mexican communities, but most recently, like for example, Boulder in the middle of the winter, were victims of this wildfires, right, and destroyed a lot of people's homes. Unfortunately, we are living and we're going to keep living this climate crisis, right? And as long as we don't do a strong political action and strong climate action on, for years of decades of extraction, this is going to be the new normal, right? Unfortunately. And as the new normal of dealing with all these climate destructions comes, small businesses having to learn how to not just plan their business models as a worsening climate crisis, becomes part of our reality, but also hopefully at the end of my presentation, I get to convince you that small businesses can actually play a huge role in doing climate action, not just locally, but at the global aspect, right? Because like climate crisis is not just something that New Mexico is experiencing, but unfortunately is experiencing the entire globe, especially the global South. So when we talk about the climate justice, right, one of the biggest themes that I'm sure most of you have been in tune about in terms of New Mexico politics is the ongoing transition from trying to go away from coal or from oil and gas into a regenerative energy economy that's based on wind and solar and other renewable energy sources. However, there is an aspect on this that is not very clear for the general audience in New Mexico, right? But it's actually very clear for those folks who are dependent in oil and gas jobs or oil and gas economy, right? Which is this question of, if we're transitioning away from oil and gas jobs, what's going to happen to our people, right? What's going to happen to our frontline communities that depend on the money of having to go to the oil and gas fields to work and provide to their families? The framework that we're talking about, a just transition, is bringing justice to those frontline communities, not just the workers who are dependent week by week by the payments of all those corporations, but also the frontline communities who have been impacted environmentally because of all of these operations, right? So thinking about the communities who are suffering from health consequences of living next to fracking, or water being, oh my God, I forgot the word. Polluted by the chemicals used in these types of industries. So really a just transition framework is about making sure that those folks who have no fault, right, on what's happening in the globe around the climate crisis get prioritized so that they have the resources and tools to get better jobs, better paying jobs in industries such as solar and wind companies, and don't have to, risk their lives doing this type of jobs. So that's really the framework of a just transition. In CCP, we are part of this coalition called Power for New Mexico, where it's different organizations that have grassroots memberships that are directly impacted, right? Not only by the climate crisis, but by this question of what's going to happen to the local economies as we start moving away from oil and gas, and in a state that is very dependent, right, financially from this type of industry. A couple years ago, we were able, through the coalition, to pass legislation that was able to put money into studies, right? Because we wanted to not just act on all these theories, right, that we can be sitting here in front of a computer talking about what could be the best economy, but we really wanted to hear from our communities, right? The people who are waking up every single day and getting out there to oil and gas fields or any other type of industry, to ask them, due to the reality of the climate crisis that we're facing, what is the new economy that you envision, right? What do you need for you to be empowered to apply for all these new jobs coming into New Mexico? And how can the state really ease that process for those community members to take advantage of this new financial opportunity? From that study, it was found different results, right? Not just from very specific policy recommendations, such as starting the Office of a Just Transition, or having more, process and pathways for people to find the training for the new jobs coming in. But most importantly, I think what I really want to highlight from this study is the reality that our people, our communities throughout the state really want for this just transition to prioritize local businesses that are owned by minority and women, right? Economies that are usually forgotten by, prioritizing big corporations coming into New Mexico. And I think that's a big highlight that we got from the study. Also take into account that our people, not just that makes it easier, right? Having that local economy be supported, but also having the infrastructure for multilingual education for our workers to start getting the skills to apply for renewable energy jobs. So how does this all apply to small businesses, right? And as I'm talking, you're probably already thinking like, oh, that probably doesn't apply to my business, right? Because I don't own solar farms or I don't own wind farms. But in reality, the framework of a just transition doesn't stop from, oil and gas jobs to clean energy jobs. In reality, the framework envisions an economy for New Mexico that is based on regenerative stuff, right? So nothing that is focused on extraction of our natural resources. So for example, if you have a local health clinic, having those people be trained to have those jobs on local health clinics is part of a just transition, or childcare, or other types of businesses like restaurants or bakeries or anything else that really focuses and shifts away from this economy having to be dependent on drilling into the ground, but to a more economy that's focused on reinvesting into the community, right? And so as you think and as you go into this journey of small businesses and the local economy, what we're trying to do is shift away from this thinking that, you know, we only have to work with big corporations, right? And we only have to work with oil and gas to clean energy jobs. When in reality, the solution is more based on local economies, right? It's how do we support our local economies and our small businesses so that they have the infrastructure and the support for also them to provide this just transition for our folks who are questioning what their future career is without oil and gas.